Right when we needed a patch the most, as the face of Deadlock himself has said that, yeah, Deadlock just hasn't been feeling good lately, Yoshi has delivered a brand new patch for us filled with a bunch of balance changes for numerous characters throughout the game, as well as some general changes and a few things for the urn, although not as much as expected. So, as always in this video, we will be going over everything important in this patch. A link to the patch notes will be down in the description if you want to follow along, and let's get started. So, let's talk about the urn, shall we? This has been the subject of much debate and discourse throughout the community, and I just made a very successful video talking about the urn. A lot of you guys were giving suggestions for how to change it, and generally just discussing how the urn feels in its latest iteration. And Yoshi has decided to change the urn somewhat this patch. So, the urn give-up time. That is the time before it just decides to throw its hands up in the air and just spit out all the souls for everyone to shoot rather than giving it to any one team. That has been reduced from 75 seconds to just 60 seconds. So after a minute of standing in the circle, the urn will give up. It'll just launch all the souls up in the air. And then second of all, the urn bounty has been reduced by 10%, but this is unreduced for the trailing team. So for a neutral urn, and for an urn when your team is ahead by a lot, it is reduced by 10%. But if it is a comeback urn for your team, the souls are unaffected and you still get a lot of souls from it. But that's it. That's all they did to the urn. I don't know, that feels really underwhelming to me. They're making the urn less important of an objective by making it worth less money, and they have not changed the mechanics in any way apart from making it give up faster. As you can see now, this phase kicks in a little bit sooner, and then pop, there it goes, and there's all the souls. Yay! So yeah, I don't know, I was really expecting so much more from this. I have to say, I am a little bit disappointed that they didn't try to do more to fix the urn. I think this is still going to be a very frustrating objective for the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll get a follow-up patch that addresses more of the urn in detail, but yeah, I don't know, a little disappointing. Anyways, let's move on to some other general changes. So, breakables, health permanent bonus. That is the bonus health pickup that you get when trashing a golden statue, or if you get lucky and finish off a sinner's sacrifice. That has been reduced from 15, 25, and 35 to 15, 20, and 30. For level 1, 2, and 3 respectively. And of course, as you remember, the breakables get more valuable as the match goes on, so those different stages just kick in the later a match goes. So if you pick up the breakables early on in the match, it's actually pretty much unaffected, but as soon as they upgrade to tier 2 and tier 3, that's when you're going to lose out on a little bit of extra health. But thankfully, something good for the team that's behind this update is that the kill comeback bounty values have been increased by 8%. So if I am behind the enemy team by a lot of souls, and then I kill one of them, I am going to get a lot more money than I did before, which is very, very nice, although I'm not sure it'll be enough to fix the fact that the game just feels really stompy right now. I still think a lot of that is tied to the urn, and well, the urn didn't really get many changes. Now, just when Street Brawl players thought they were safe, nope, Street Brawl got a change too. So, all ability and item range radius values are reduced by 10%. Everything across the board in Street Brawl has 10% less range. Which, I mean, fair enough. The game mode does result in a lot of AoE spam, so yeah, this means you have to be a little bit more refined with your ability usage, which is fair enough. Now, you'll be surprised to hear that there are only 2 item changes this update. The vast majority of changes here are happening to the heroes themselves. The only 2 items that are getting affected are Opening Rounds and Arcane Surge. And Arcane Surge just got a bug fix. Arcane Surge has various cases where the bonuses don't work. That's been fixed. So the item is functionally the same, if not slightly improved in terms of its consistency. But Opening Rounds here just getting a little bit of a power shift. So the conditional weapon damage bonus has been reduced from 30 to 25%. 50%. That's the damage against enemies above 50% health. And then the Spirit power has been buffed from 4 back up to 7, as it was before. Alright, now let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this update. We've got a lot of hero changes to discuss. Starting with Apollo. That's right, Abrams, we're skipping over you. You don't exist in this update. So, Disengaging Sigil is getting a lot of changes here. First of all, the velocity is increased by 50%. You go back much farther now, look at that. Also, the Disengaging Sigil's velocity's vertical to horizontal ratio has changed from 1.5 to 1 to 1 to 1. That sounds complicated, but basically, instead of going much higher vertically, you now go about the same distance vertically and horizontally from the knockback of this thing. But when combined with the general 50% velocity increase, this just means that you're going farther than you were before. Disengaging Sigil now also allows input to alter the direction Apollo launches himself. AD biases to the left and right, and W and S affect how much backwards motion is applied. So if I'm holding A, look at that, I go really far to the left. If I hold D, I go far to the right. If I hold S, then I go really far back. And if I hold W, I basically just stay in place horizontally, but I do go up vertically. So I think that's pretty nice. It's going to add a lot of skill expression for how you use the ability regarding its mobility. And then the upgrades have been changed as well. So the Tier 1 no longer gives you plus 30 damage. Instead, the fire rate and bullet speed passive has been shifted down. So it used to be the Tier 2, now it's the Tier 1, and they took 5% away from the fire rate. The Tier 2 is also just the previous Tier 3, but shifted down and nerfed. So the Tier 2 is now plus 1 stamina restored and resets air jump and dash limit. And then the Tier 3 is finally a big power spike that previously just didn't really exist on this ability. It can now be recast within 4 seconds. So let me turn cooldowns off here. If I go ahead and use the Disengaging Sigil, you see that bar on the bottom of my screen? That will allow me Disengaging Sigil again, doubling the damage and mobility that I can get out of this ability, which is very powerful indeed. But notably, the Tier 1 no longer gives you extra damage, so that 30 damage power spike on lane is gone, which will make him slightly worse on lane than he was before when using this ability. And finally, Flawless Advance now allows Apollo to parry during it. So, yeah, I just parried right there. Actually, did it just cancel it? Yeah, I think it kind of just... I think it kind of cancels it. Yeah, you don't get any more charges if you parry mid-Flawless Advance. That's actually... Huh. Yeah, if I use it normally, as you can see, we do that. Huh. Okay, that is a little strange. I guess you gotta be careful when parrying with this. You might blow your whole cooldown, but, yeah, you can now parry, so people can't just get free melee attacks on you during Flawless Advance anymore, as long as you're careful. Alright, now let's talk about Bebop here. He's getting a couple of minor survivability buffs. First of all, he gets 1% extra healing on the Tier 3 Exploding Uppercut now. Wow. They also fixed a bug where the Tier 3 Sticky Bomb was basically having the movement speed buff expire when the bomb blew up, rather than lasting for the full 6 seconds, so that has been fixed. And also you'll notice they changed the buff that it provides on the Tier 3. It still gives you 5 meters of movement speed, but instead of giving you 20% fire rate, it now gives you 25% debuff resistance, and they buff the duration from 5 to 6 seconds. And this debuff resistance will apply retroactively to effects that have already been put on you. So that's actually quite a nice change, especially because Bebop likes to get up close to put these bombs on people, and so yeah, a little bit of debuff resist goes a long way. That's, yeah, actually going to be quite impactful. Calico is getting some slight buffs to the Gloom Bombs and Return to Shadows. Gloom Bombs is mostly just getting changes here to the Tier 2, which reduces enemy melee resist by 6% for 6 seconds, and this was actually previously 5% for 5 seconds, so already one buff there. The melee resist debuff now also stacks additively instead of diminishingly, so if you hit all of the bombs, you're going to get substantially more melee resist shred than you did before. And also, one final change is that, well, the melee resist now applies on impact rather than explosion. So if I light melee this guy, I'm doing 63 damage, I throw the bombs, and I do 78 damage with that melee before they blow up. So this now makes it a little bit more seamless to potentially use the bombs and then slash, and get the melee shred on your slash, which is very good. That enables more combo potential. And then the Return to Shadows is just getting buffs across the board to various elements. The base damage has been increased from 140 to 150, and the tier 2 damage has been increased from 65 to 75. And then finally, the tier 3 heal has been increased by 100 from 350 to 450. And yeah, that might not seem like a lot, but once you upgrade to the tier 2, that is 20 more damage that you did not have before, and that's going to really help with getting past those breakpoints and finishing enemies off with the Return to Shadows, which is very nice indeed, because Calico wants to be bursty, and that's what these buffs achieve. They make it easier for her to be more bursty. Well, sadly, they're not killing Doorman this update. I want this guy dead, dude. He annoys me so much. But anyways, Call Bell Explosion damage spirit scaling has been reduced by 0.1, from 1.3 down to 1.2, and then the tier 3 spirit scaling bonus has been reduced from 0.4 to 0.35. So just a little bit less damage on the Call Bell when you scale it up with spirit, and that's all they've done to Doorman, so, yeah. God, I hate this character. Sorry, these patch notes aren't very unbiased, but anyways, moving on to Graves. So Graves is getting a couple more nerfs here, which makes sense because she's still terrorizing every elo that's not Infernus. So Jar of Dead is getting some more nerfs here. The collection rate has been reduced by 20%, so it takes longer to get a charge of Jar of Dead. If you use my Raging Swarm build, then that just means that it's going to be even more pertinent that you get Rapid Recharge and Recharging Rush. Some people think these two are redundant. No, they are absolutely necessary, and even more so this update. Also, the Jar of Dead damage has been reduced from 17 down to 16 base damage, and from 0.27 to 0.25 spirit scaling. Not as harsh of nerf as she previously received, but still a little bit less damage than before. And also, the bounty for the Jar of Dead, that is, the amount of souls that the enemies get for killing the Jar of Dead, has been increased by a lot, from 5 up to 7 at base, but from 0.25 up to 0.5 per boon now. That is a 100% increase on the amount of souls you get per boon. So, yeah, Graves is just going to feed the enemies even more money. Oh boy. And then the Grasping Hands Tier 3 Immobilized duration has been reduced from 1 second to 0.75 seconds, an extraordinarily reasonable nerf. It is still a 2-second Immobilize. That is more than enough. We don't need more. Oh boy. By the way, if you guys have been enjoying this update coverage so far, then of course make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future update videos like this, as well as all my other Deadlock content I make here on the channel. But anyways, we've got Grey Talon up next here, getting some well-deserved nerfs to his gun playstyle and the Rain of Arrows. This has been very strong recently, and so hey, yeah, bunch of nerfs coming through here. The gun cycle time has been increased to result in an overall 4% DPS nerf. And that just means that he's going to be firing a little tiny bit slower, about 4% slower, which means you're going to have to place your shots a little bit better, more carefully, and it's actually going to make denying souls a little bit harder on lane 2 if you miss the first shot. So yeah, just small changes are going to affect certain things, make them feel a little bit worse. The bullet damage growth per boon has also been reduced from 1 to 0.85, losing about 15% damage there. And then the Rain of Arrows cooldown has been increased by 1 second from 22 up to 23, and the Tier 2 Rain of Arrows has been reduced in its effectiveness from 13 seconds to 12 seconds cooldown reduction. So now when you upgrade to the Tier 2, you are looking at an 11-second cooldown with still a 4-second duration. Now I'm sure you're curious, if we use this build that I showcased a couple of days ago, you are now able to get a 9-second cooldown with a nearly 5-second duration. So let's put this to the test. Kinetic Dash, and then blast them from our perch up here in the sky for 5 seconds straight. And then we fall back to the ground, Kinetic Dash, and I've still got a couple of seconds before I'm able to go back into the air again. So a little bit more downtime on this. That is going to result in a lot less damage overall, because remember, Rain of Arrows gives him more consistency on the weapon with a multi-shot and +6 weapon damage. So yeah, Gun Grey Talon is definitely going to feel a lot worse this update. These are a lot of heavy nerfs towards this playstyle, so might be back to Spirit Grey Talon for a lot of Grey Talon players, but I imagine it'll still probably be somewhat effective to play the gun playstyle if you do still prefer it. So, Holliday's powder keg just got effectively relatively soft reworked. There are a lot of changes here, and this actually feels a lot better to play around. So, first and foremost, we got two major changes to the powder keg. First of all, the powder keg has an alt cast behavior, where you can place it at your feet like this, and it's just sitting there, and it looks really janky. That looks so strange. But it means you can place it down, and then you can kind of line it up, and then you can punch it, and whoa, I punched it past his head. So you can light melee it, and you can also heavy melee it, and the heavy melee actually makes it go a little bit farther, actually, it seems. It goes really fast if you heavy melee it. And in general, the powder keg has a lot of various improvements to the launch angles, velocities, and feel of casting. So if I just use it normally, but without jumping, I can comfortably just launch it like this at the enemies super consistently. Press the powder keg, melee, and it just goes directly towards that guy, which feels so much better, faster, and more responsive. And of course, if you are in the air, you can still just really pelt those things at people. It's going to take some getting used to for the Holliday mains who are used to the sluggish barrels of old, but I mean, this just feels so much better. This is like on par with the gun changes that they did a while back, if not better. Like, look at how good this is. And yeah, again, you can just put it down there, heavy melee, just launch it straight at that guy. You don't have to jump anymore and do that awkward, like, button mashing where you have to press, like, a bajillion buttons to launch it at somebody. You can just comfortably be on the ground and just yeet that thing, which, that just feels so much better. I really, really like this. This is amazing. They've also done various changes to the stats. So powder keg now starts with 2 charges. Very nice. The powder keg charge time has, however, been doubled from 3.5 to 7 seconds, which is definitely concerning. The spirit scaling has been reduced from 1.6 to 1.4. And then the tier 2 and tier 3 upgrades have been changed. Instead of getting 58 damage on the tier 2, you now get +1 charge. And then the tier 3 has been changed from +2 charges and 0.4 seconds of displacement to 100 damage plus 0.5 spirit scaling and -5 seconds of charge time, which is definitely an improvement. Because of the base 1 charge, you aren't actually losing out on any charges. When you upgrade to the tier 2, you still have 3 charges of powder keg as normal. And then the tier 3 here gives you way more flat damage, way more spirit scaling than you had before, and also you can spam these powder kegs every 2 seconds. And that's before rapid recharge. If we grab that in here too, we are looking at a 1.4 second time between charges. So bam, there's that. Bam, there's another one. Bam, there's another one. I turned cooldowns off, by the way. This is the actual time between charges. That is pretty crazy. The only thing you're losing out on is displacement. That displacement bonus is gone. And that sucks a little bit for Holliday players, I guess, but for everybody else, it just means the keg is going to feel a little better to play against because displacement just is not a fun mechanic. So, yeah, powder keg, once you get that maxed out, it is feeling great this update. These mechanical changes feel incredible. I might actually play a little bit of Holliday now. We'll see. This is definitely a step in the right direction for this character, and between this and the gun changes that they did a while back, yeah, she's feeling a lot better to play. But we're not done with the fixes yet, because also Bounce Pad has a massive bug fix here, where you can now place the bounce pad much more effectively on these high areas. Previously, if you were on the edge of something like this and you dropped the bounce pad, it would drop the bounce pad kind of in the air down beneath the ledge, like here. And now it looks like it just properly places it right on the edge, so you can still easily make use out of the jump pad, which is the biggest gripe I've had with this thing ever since I first played Holliday. So this is amazing. They have, however, reduced the bounce pad landing radius from 12 meters to 9 meters, but, I mean, the bounce pad has been fixed, so, like, that's fair. That's fair compensation. This is great. And then the tier 3 of the bounce pad has been changed from plus 68 stomp damage and improved scaling to plus 0.7 seconds stomp stun. And this only triggers from Holliday. So you don't really have much damage on this thing anymore, but you can now stun enemies with the jump pad. So, bam! And I just stunned that guy, which is some crazy powerful crowd control to have on Holliday now, especially since you have multiple charges of it just like this. And yes, that means you can stun somebody, grab him with the lasso, and then stun him again when the lasso is over with that other bounce pad right there. So, yeah. Dang, Holliday, you are feeling real good this update. We're going to see a heck of a lot more Holliday players for sure. Infernus just got 2 bug fixes here. The first one is that they fixed Afterburn's max duration refreshing, not properly accounting for both debuff resist and ability duration. So, it should be more consistent and work more intuitively with debuff resistant duration now. And then also, they fixed Concussive Combustion's cooldown not updating when getting the tier 2 or other cooldown reducing items when the ability is on cooldown. Normally when you upgrade something and it gets some cooldown reduction, it retroactively applies that cooldown reduction to the existing cooldown. It was not doing that for Concussive Combustion, and now it will be doing that properly. Well, here's something freaky. They did a bug fix for Ivy, where Stoneform could sometimes do significantly more damage than intended. I have no idea how this bug was achieved, so I can't show it to you to prove that it's fixed. I didn't even know this was a thing, but I'm scared that this was a thing now. Oh god, Ivy, you're terrifying. Well, wouldn't you know it, McGinnis is getting some more nerfs. So, the mini turret's DPS has been rescaled from 30 down to 24 base hit damage, but from 0.39 up to 0.42 spirit scaling. This means that it's going to have less damage in the early to mid game, but you will finally break even and exceed the previous damage if you are able to achieve 200 spirit power. So if you go super late, then the turrets will be doing more damage than before. They also reduced the tier 3 fire rate from 30% down to 25%. That's just a flat DPS nerf across the board. And then for the heavy barrage, they did fix some rare cases where heavy barrage would randomly stop working. But they also reduced the damage from 22.5 down to 21. So, yeah, McGinnis just can't stop getting nerfed with this rocket barrage and these turrets. And honestly, I fear for her when the urn gets reworked again, as it probably will eventually, because, yeah, if the urn ever becomes less compy and less of a major team fight where everyone is grouped up, all these heavy barrage nerfs will have caught up to her and just, well, they make her completely useless. Paige is getting some big buffs here. She is one of the more underwhelming supports in the game at the moment, so they are spicing her up with some very big changes. First of all, rallying charges distance for max amp has been reduced from 350 down to 250 meters. So if you're a sniper Paige, you can get a lot more benefit out of rallying charge now, just like that. And also, the tier 2 got a staggering bonus to the cooldown reduction, from 30 seconds down to 50 seconds of cooldown reduction. So now it's just a 140 second cooldown on rallying charge. And then the plot armor is getting some buffs too. The spirit scaling has increased from 1.3 to 1.5, and the tier 3 barrier spirit scaling has increased from 0.3 to 0.5. A lot of extra health on the barrier now when you scale it up with some spirit power. If I just get Boundless Spirit here, we are looking at a 400 health barrier. Very nice. Well, wouldn't you know it, Pocket is getting some more nerfs. Oh boy. So the bullet damage growth per boon has been reduced from 0.2 to 0.16. That's actually quite a substantial nerf, about 20%. Flying Cloak tier 3 has also been reduced from minus 13 seconds to minus 12 seconds of cooldown reductions, so even less uptime on the Flying Cloak. And then, Pocket joins many other characters in the game who now have minus 50% damage to objectives with Affliction, and of course their other AoE abilities, and now I'm dead. So, yeah, if you happen to afflict the walker or an objective or something like that, you will not be chunking it down with Affliction anymore. 7 is getting some big nerfs to the Power Surge playstyle. First of all, his bullet damage growth per boon has been reduced from 0.337 to 0.24. That's actually a rather substantial reduction in the amount of gun damage he gets per boon, so that really negatively affects the Power Surge playstyle, which tends to get a few more weapon items than the Ball playstyle, and in general, it negatively impacts his ability to farm, because his gun will be hitting these for less damage as you level up. So, yeah, that's a really impactful nerf. The Power Surge tier 3 has also been reduced from plus 12 seconds duration to plus 10 seconds duration. Now we have a 20 second duration with a 32 second cooldown, and if we go ahead and buy compressed cooldown and duration extender on the Power Surge as one does, we no longer have 100% uptime on Power Surge. There are 2 seconds of downtime, which, yeah, I mean, it's still not like a crazy amount of downtime at the end of the day. But, yeah, that is definitely worse. However, if you upgrade to Superior Duration, you will now once again have 100% uptime, so this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but that weapon damage nerf definitely is. And then finally, Stormcloud now hits breakables. So, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it doesn't really affect anything, but you can break boxes with a Stormcloud now. Yay. Shameless self-promotion, but I have a Ball build if you want to play Ball 7 now that Power Surge has been nerfed. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, so Shiv just got a devastating nerf to Killing Blow. It now has 30% more cooldown whenever it does not execute a player. So if you use this as a movement ability, as many Shiv players have been doing, you get punished for that. At base, it has a 125-second cooldown. If I use it like this, it went up to a 163-second cooldown, all because I used it as a dash to get up to the high ground. Ouch. So this is to incentivize you to use the ability as the name suggests, and finish someone off rather than run away like a little coward. Silver just got 2 devastating nerfs to the Lycan Curse, and the first one is that the cooldown has been nearly doubled, from 40 seconds to 70 seconds. Ouch, man, that is brutal. Much less consistency on this. You'll now actually be able to catch Silver without her Lycan Curse available. She might not be able to Hulk out as much anymore. You might be able to catch her in a 1v1 and not have to worry about that stage 2 coming into effect where she turns into a werewolf and gets all her health back. Thank goodness for that. And speaking of getting her health back, that's not a thing she does on the tier 3 anymore. So if you get a hero kill, you will refresh abilities and duration, but you will not refresh the heal. So yeah, gone is that aspect of her tempo during a fight. She's going to have to get healing from normal sources like the rest of us, rather than getting a massive burst heal in the middle of her ultimate. Oh boy. Can you tell I've been getting salty at Silver recently? You know how I was saying how I'm like the only person who doesn't really get that upset at Silver, and how she hasn't really been that much of a nuisance? Well, she's been a nuisance now. I've been being pestered by this character non-stop for the last week, so thank goodness for these nerfs. Hold on. I'm sorry, what? Wait, that makes it harder to read. Wait. Viscous is getting, like, just straight buffs? Again? Yoshi, this isn't like you. So the Puddle Punch Tier 2 now has even more lifesteal, and I just made a build about this literally yesterday, where we take advantage of the lifesteal, deal a ton of damage, and now it is 60% instead of 40%. Thank you, Yoshi, that's awesome. And also, the Goo Ball Tier 2 gives you 10% extra resist, so you're now a little bit tankier in the Goo Ball again. It's a fraction of the 60% resists that we previously had on this Goo Ball, but I will absolutely welcome it with open arms because it feels awful to be squishy in the Goo Ball. This is one of the biggest hitboxes in the game, especially if you get range, and yeah, it just... Oh, it needs these resists. Thank you, Yoshi, for buffing my character. I will play Viscous more now. I appreciate it. Oh my goodness. Also, it seems like every single update, whenever they touch Viscous, the Goo Ball is just mysteriously broken with its animations. That's strange. Move out of the way, Dynamo. We've got a new longest ult cooldown in the game. Victor is getting some nerfs. Thank goodness. This is another character that's been terrorizing me lately. So, let's cut to the ult then, shall we? The ult now has a 240-second cooldown at base, officially making it longer than Dynamo's 230 seconds. And the Tier 3 also got nerfed. It only gives 110 seconds of cooldown reduction instead of 120, so now we are looking at a 130-second cooldown with the Tier 3 shocking reanimation. Make it longer, Yoshi. This is good, but make it longer. Kill this ultimate. They also did buff the damage of the Tier 3, though, from 150 up to 175. So that's a thing, I guess. But the Aura of Suffering also has received a bit of a power shift. The base radius has been reduced by 1 meter from 9 down to 8, but the Tier 3 gives you that 1 meter of radius back, So, not really a nerf once you get this maxed out, but it will make him a little bit less reliable in the early game. If we take this off, the radius goes down, and yeah, that's just a smaller radius. They also fixed some client performance issues when using Aura of Suffering, so should be a little bit less laggy too. If you like sniping people, then today is a good day for you, because the spirit scaling on Assassinate's max bonus damage has increased from 1.7 to 2. That's a major bonus if I've ever seen one. If we just pop some spirit power onto this thing, that is a 423 max bonus damage. Okay. Well, that's gonna hit really hard then, isn't it? Sheesh. So, yeah, that's the only change too. Moving on. Finally, we end off today with a power shift for Warden. Some things are getting stronger while others are getting weaker. First of all, his bullet fall off has been substantially reduced. It now starts at 18 meters and ramps up to 47 meters. Previously, it started at 20 and ramped all the way up to 58. Dang. So, much less range on this. You have to get a little bit closer, which fits with his kit. Alchemical Flask is also getting some nerfs. The spirit scaling has been reduced from 0.73 to 0.63, and the tier 2 damage has been reduced from 40 down to 35. However, they did increase the weapon damage penalty applied to the enemy from 20% to 25%, bringing the total up to minus 50% weapon damage. Playing into the tankiness of this character, I see. Dang. And they also buffed the willpower, again playing into the tankiness. The spirit scaling has increased from 0.5 to 0.8. And then if you stack that with the tier 3, you are looking at a total of 3.3 spirit scaling. Dang. Now, the binding word, however, has been nerfed. So the tier 3 has been reduced from 18 seconds to 14 seconds of cooldown reduction. It is a 20-second cooldown on the binding word now with it fully maxed out. But then, the last stand is getting buffed. So the lifesteal has increased from 65 to 75%, the tier 2 cooldown reduction has been improved from 30 to 35 seconds, and the tier 3 has been improved from 3 to 4 extra seconds of duration, which is going to scale like crazy with superior duration should you choose to buy that item. With that, we have a 12.8 second duration on last stand, with all that lifesteal. Oh boy. And just a 120 second cooldown on this too. So, yeah, ultimately, I mean, I think Warden is just net stronger this update. Yeah, he lost a little bit of damage on the Alchemical Flask, and he has to engage closer to the enemies now, but he was already an up-close and personal character, especially with Last Stand, and otherwise his gun damage hasn't been nerfed, so yeah, I think Warden's going to be a very scary character to look out for this update. They might have made him really, really strong now. So, yeah, I guess we end on a high note for Warden for once. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. So if you found this update video to be helpful, then of course make sure to drop a like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on future videos from me. And with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.